Well, welcome. This is the first of 4 videos this week that Walk Through the Bible is releasing to help jumpstart Bible reading and Bible engagement in this new year for you. Here's the first tip or the first practice. It's simply this: to read big. Read big. Have you ever noticed that the layout of the Bible looks really different than most of the books that we read? I mean, pull a book off of your bookshelf and open it up and compare it, just the pages, with the Bible. And the Bible is formatted very differently. In most of our Bibles, the text is broken into columns. Two columns is the most common. And there's numbers everywhere. Big numbers that are for chapters and small numbers that are for verses. And you don't see your favorite novel with all of these markings. You know, the history of Bible publishing and how we got our modern Bible is fascinating and revealing. The modern Bible is a very different experience than when it was originally written. You know, take for an example, one of Paul's letters. They were letters, sent via a messenger on a parchment that were received and probably read out loud to a group of people who had gathered to hear them read. There were no titles, no chapters, no verses, no footnotes, no section headings. It was just a letter. And we've added a lot to the Bible since then, especially in recent years. Chapters weren't added to the Bible until the 13th century by the Archbishop of Canterbury, Stephen Langton. He was writing a commentary, and he added chapter markings very pragmatically as a way of helping people find things in the Bible. And verses were added some 300 years later in the 16th century, again, as a rather pragmatic tool. And in the history of the Bible, these are relatively modern features. In addition to chapters and verses, we've added a lot to the Bible since then. The section headings and red letters and commentaries and Bible publishers have been marketing the Bible in ways that pique our interest. And none of that is necessarily bad. But a lot of Bible scholars are beginning to question how our modern Bible, with all those things we've added, has changed the way in which we read. Common Bible reading is in small, bite-sized bits. We read a verse here and a verse there. We follow Bible reading plans that chop the Bible into little consumable bites. Our minds, as we read, have been trained to stop at section headings that create breaks in the text in places that the author probably never intended. And these comments aren't necessarily intended to be critical. Walk Through the Bible publishes Bible reading plans and Bibles that help you read. But here's my point. We tend to read small. We read a verse here and a verse there, a section, maybe a chapter. We read small. And in doing so, we miss a lot. We miss the grand storyline of a book. We miss the broader context of what we're reading. We miss the opportunity to get lost in the beauty of the Bible the way we might as if we were curled up with our favorite novel on the couch. The Bible becomes a checklist to get done rather than a story to be mesmerized with. And so here's the first tip, the first practice for Bible reading in this new year. Read big. Don't read small, read big. Find time to sit down and read big sections of God's Word. Don't read verses or sections or even chapters. Read books. Like the book is the central unit of the Bible, not chapters. Carve some time to read an entire gospel in one sitting, or read all of Paul's letters from the beginning to the end as if you had just gotten a letter from a friend, and you're not going to put it down until you're done. I know practically maybe you can't do that every day, but could you find time once a week to read big? And I promise you this, something will happen in your heart. You will hear and experience and love this book, the Bible, in different ways that invite you to truly engage with God's Word. So read big and let us know in the comments what happens when you read big this week.